Today, we're going to do a macro technical analysis on Bitcoin over the last 6 years, which tells us what's likely to happen next, and Solana, the last 24 months, because we're going for some extreme price action. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and let's dive into some TA with Bitcoin and then Solana. With Bitcoin, we're on a weekly chart, and we're looking at the beginning of 2017 to the peak of 2021, which is down here to up here, and then to the present day. Now, what you really want to be aware of is that markets, all markets, when there's humans involved, crowd psychology involved, which is all markets, markets tend to move in 5s and 3s. And when they're identifiable, we can see what's happening and we can peg the top or near the top and where we're likely to see a reversal near the bottom. So let's just put some counts on this. So I use something called Elliott wave theory. It's one of my absolute favorite things. It's the closest thing you're ever going to find to a crystal ball. It looks like a 1, 2, 3, a very steep 4, and a 5. Right? So now that I've drawn it, it looks much clearer now. It looks like a nice 5-wave pattern. And at the time, back in November last year, we were actually talking about this and say, look, we're probably going to go into a big correction. And there's a few key pieces of information. Now, if the price went below this point over here, that's going to give us some valuable insight of what this looks like. And we have gone into that range over here. So this tells us we're looking like some type of A, B, C correction. Remember what I said? 5s and 3s. This red part is what I'm talking about as a 3-wave correction. Now, it doesn't mean it's complete. It doesn't look like it's complete because we want to see price go above these swing highs. That tells us this low is likely to be complete. But now let's just put a wave count on it. Again, this is called Elliott wave theory. It's like applied psychology to price action. Now I'm going to put it over here, ABC correction with a big fat juicy question mark. Why? Because it hasn't been complete yet. We haven't got confirmation. But what we do have is what looks like to be a relatively clear buying and selling behavior price action. So why is this valuable to us? Because after a 5 and then a 3-wave correction, which is looking like what we have right now, what typically occurs eventually is a continuation of the former trend. So I just want to give you an insight into what's likely to happen over the next few years. Now, we don't know exactly when, but it's inevitable. With a technology like Web3 and with Bitcoin being one of the key players, we're likely to, at some point, see breaking all-time new highs eventually, right? It might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might be 6 months, but in this range over here, that's probably going to come faster than we think, but we want to see the price go above these swing highs. So that's with Bitcoin. Now, before we jump into Solana, I want to introduce something quite special. We've launched my own NFT collection, and we're giving you access, utility. It's going to be a phenomenal roadmap. And the first thing that we're going to launch is you can actually click on a particular section. And if you've got the required NFT, you can connect your MetaMask wallet and you'll get granted access. Now we're going to do some fun stuff, personal stuff, business stuff, trading. There's a lot of services and everything else. But one of the things that everyone's going to get access to is my dancing. That's right. I used to be a break dancer. I did a lot of dancing, and I've put together some of my old school content because a lot of people ask me about it. And there's 5 initial videos that I'm going to share with you, one of which is a music video where it went to #1 in the British Asian charts, and you'll see me. And I just want to show you a very brief clip, just 5 seconds, right? The crowd goes nuts. This is me doing head spins as a math teacher in front of 500 students, teachers, parents, and everything else. So if you want access to this and much, much more, check out my NFT collection. We're doing a really discounted price for my early adopters, early supporters, and there's 3 more days left. It's only 0.04 ETH, which is around £40. Celebrating my 40th birthday. I turned 40 last week. And there's 6 characters in the NFT collection, so you can check this out. I'll put it in the link below. And you'll be able to buy with credit card or with Ethereum. So credit card, you can buy up to 25 in one go, and also connect your wallet and you can buy it directly with ETH. And we're going to do the reveal of the NFTs on the 1st of Jan. The reveal to see which one you got. And it all got different traits, different characters, different designs, really good artwork that we've been working on. But the utility is going to be fantastic. So check it out if you want to get access. Initially, we're going to launch this part of the gated content which is Web3. Web3 is the new layer of the internet, so this is going to be a big deal. So it's like the email in 95, 99, when most people didn't know really what it was. Web3 is going to be the same. So now let's just finish on Solana. So we're going to jump into Solana now. Do you notice something with Solana in comparison to Bitcoin? Right, so just look at this chart for a second. Because remember, we're talking about markets in the move 5s and 3s. So I really zoomed out. This is pretty much the beginning of Solana. We're talking about January 2021 over here, and obviously today. But what price, what buying and selling behavior? Now we know there's the whole FTX fiasco and the news and people are migrating away from Solana. There's a lot of concerns about a lot of things. But this part of the movement was way before anything to do with FTX. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that markets are driven by fear and greed. So if I just jump back into Bitcoin for a second, and even if we just zoom back in like this, and just look at this 5 and 3 movement over a 6-year period, right? This is a 6-year period, because Bitcoin's obviously been around for longer, but the last 6 years since the beginning of 2017. And now let's just look at Solana again. So remember the 5s and 3s? Well, do you see any kind of 5 and 3 type of behavior? There is not always exact as a 5 and a 3, but when we're looking at this, we had this nice surge. I remember doing a video down here before this next surge because it looked like a wave 2. And then we had this nice, very overextended wave 3. We had a corrective wave 4, profit-taking wave, and then a final blow-off. It's called the panic buying wave 5, right? Before a big correction. It's like the money runs out. And that's why the 5 waves typically unfold, because of the way crowd psychology plays out time and time again. So there was a time not that long ago that this could have potentially been the end of an ABC correction, because it looked pretty textbook at the time. And again, it looked like a nice A 3-wave B, and then another move to the downside. However, in recent times, literally recent times, like last week, we had this low broken. So this tells us this cannot be the end of the wave C, and there's still some way to the downside to go. But what I wanted to emphasize with Solana, obviously there's a lot of eyeballs on it right now because it's going through some extreme price corrections on where it was, this extreme over here. But remember, this was overvalued. This was all panic buying. This was overextended. This tends to happen in a lot of markets, but crypto tends to be exaggerated because it's such a young market. And it's still young. It's still small. It's still small in the grand scheme of things. So when we're looking at this, what we want to be aware of is that this is no longer a wave C, and it's likely the wave C is going to end somewhere down here. And there's a deep correction. So it's a couple of things I want you to just cover over here. And so we can just extend this over to say, look, it doesn't look like it's over yet. It looks like we still got some movement to go. Just like with Bitcoin, it's good practice just to put a question mark to say, look, it hasn't been completed yet. We haven't got confirmation. And is Solana going to recover? Because we know there's a lot of doubt around just everything around FTX and everything else. But if the price eventually does break above this high or this high, that would be a strong confirmation that the buying's back in town. We'll probably get a correction and then a continuation. So take into account that Solana survives, which many speculate it will, is a strong project, even though a lot are migrating away from Solana. A lot of NFT projects are migrating away from Solana at the moment, moving to Polygon, Matic, etc., etc. If it does survive, buying and selling behavior kicks in again. So the underlying project is still strong. So if that value shows in the price action, what's likely to happen eventually, and I'm keeping it macro today, so we don't need to go into detail on what's likely to happen in the next few days. We're talking about months and years. If it does survive, well, then what typically occurs is a continuation of the former trend. And it will tend to be a more exaggerated 5-wave structure. In other words, let's just say it did survive and the buying power and the bull market came back in. Then we're talking about some type of 5-wave movement to the upside. And then it's just an expansion of the market, more money coming in, more technology being built, more utility and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, a lot of it's just pure speculation. So don't be overly surprised in the next few years if people are going to be talking about the time Solana was under $10 and it was insane, if it reaches $500 in the coming years, right? In the coming years. And everyone says the same thing. With Bitcoin was the same. People couldn't believe. But at the time, when COVID hit, which was around here, no one really knew if it was gonna survive. Obviously, there's the long-term believers. But when you just take into pure consideration just the buying and selling psychology of fear and greed, the 5s and the 3s tend to play out. Money has to go somewhere, and people will speculate on the markets, and that's what drives the price action, especially when it gets when it gets really undervalued. And that's where Solana seems to be right now, really undervalued. But again, with the news being what it is and the current market climate being what it is, here is a time where people are the most skeptical around Solana and the buying and selling behavior. So there you have it. What do you think? Solana, will it survive? Will it hit all-time new highs eventually? In 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, the next 3 to 4 years. And Bitcoin again, next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, with the next Bitcoin halving happening in, I think it's March 2025, was it 24? The next kind of movement to the upside. So if you want to get access to my dance videos, this is just the beginning, by the way. You'll be able to connect your wallet, you'll read your NFT, and you'll get instant access. It's good fun. You'll see me spin on my head with a few other dance moves that I do. I used to do a lot of break dancing, but we're going to add a lot of utility. This is just the very, very beginning. All right, let's finish on a quote. I normally read a quote from my book, but I want to go with, I'm gonna go with this particular quote. Everything in life, everything, think about it. Everything in life is difficult before it is easy. Whether you're connecting your wallet for the first time, whether you're doing NFT for the first time, whether you're reading the markets and 5s and 3s, buying and selling, using stop losses, all those kind of factors are always difficult at the beginning. And often people forget how difficult it was in the beginning once they become good and efficient and proficient at something. So always remember, when you're taking on something new, everything is difficult before it's easy.